Fans, folks, friends, the season finale, 10 episodes of Curling Alberta's The Home End. The last one of this season begins tonight. And if you are here joining us, then you are catching us at Facebook Live, through YouTube's Curling Alberta channel, or through our X feed. You found us. We're here. We've got a jam-packed night with one of curling's most vibrant and amazing and incredible athletes and supporters. And we have a ton of things to cover, a ton of things to celebrate, and we're going to do it here in the next 45 minutes on The Home End. My name is Evan Asmussen, and thank you for joining me this evening. I know that our schedule has had its ups and downs, but with our championship season, we need to be flexible. We want to honor the integrity and the narrative of all of our guests. And so we truly thank you, the viewer, who is committed to this evening and all the other evenings that you've joined us, for following along with that flexibility, because we're trying to bring you amazing content week after week. And we've been doing it for 10 weeks straight. So without further ado, before we get going and before we meet our amazing guests for the evening, I want to take the opportunity to give ourselves the land acknowledgement that it truly deserves. So we acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. And while we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and to consider how we are and can each, in our own way, try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Now, I thank you for taking that moment. And of course, we've had tons of moments this season. We've had tons of guests who've shared incredible stories, brought forward their passions and their narrative in our curling community, and how it continues to drive their motivation to continue to make change in our communities. And of course, we've had amazing things go on over the last week. And so I want to take us through some of Alberta's curling home and beyond, some of the amazing things that our athletes and our participants are continuing or had just completed over the last week since we last met. So Fort McMurray was the host to the 2024 New Holland Canadian U21 Championships, and it was an absolute success, nothing but great reviews. And of course, it looks like our teams across the nation had a blast making relationships and competing at the highest level they possibly could. And we commend Team Beaudry on their bronze medal on the ladies' side, and we congratulate Team Whip on their Canadian National Championship. We know that they are going to be incredible representatives, not only for Alberta, but for the nation at the 2025 World Junior Championship, which the location, I believe, is still undecided. However, Italy is potentially the location for so because of the Olympics, as a test site for the Olympics. So we'll stay tuned next season to find out where that location is going to be. But if you have an opportunity to catch Team Whip in the meantime, please make sure you give them the biggest congratulations. We know we want to send them off the most prepared, but we also want them to have the best time representing Canada. As well, this week, starting 2 days ago on April 2nd, the club championships presented by Original 16 started to begin with all of our club champions. And so you can catch those scores on curlingalberta.ca/competitions if you want to find out how your local club is doing at the provincial championship. That's it. We're slowly dwindling down for what our amazing athletes are up to. The season is slowly coming to the end. We know we have a world championship going on where Jeff Walker, one of our previous guests, is competing with Team Gushu, representing Canada, and they've qualified for the playoffs. We also know there are a couple of Grand Slams still waiting to be finished up. We'll have tons of Alberta teams representing not only our province, but of course themselves and their community at those slam events. But without further ado, we really need to take the opportunity to welcome our amazing guest for the evening because I know she has tons to share. She has a ton of wisdom to pass on. But you know what? Just listening to her is going to get us on that trajectory forward to get us to the end of the season. So I would love to welcome all of you viewers, Rochelle Brown. Rochelle, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
You know what? Like, just thinking about this season over the last week, it's incredible. And you were one of the biggest vibrant stars that I could think of that came to mind because of just the incredible season that you've had in particular. And I'm so glad that you said yes to joining us this evening. So I truly thank you for our season finale too, as well.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor. I'm very, very excited.
Rochelle, we want to pick your brain, and I could sit and we could visit for hours and hours, and we don't have that time to honor both of our time, but also because nobody wants to truly listen to us for that long. It would be chaos at its finest. But you just competed at the 2024 Women's World Championship that was in Nova Scotia. You're a champion. You're a world champion. You are?
Yeah, I don't know if that has sunk in yet. But yeah, like hearing that sounds cool. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
no doubt. You know what? As my mind was kind of going wild today, thinking about all the things that we could talk about, I truly just want to congratulate you on your ability to not just fit in, but to be able to transform into this amazing person that you need to be to find these successes. And you totally did that with Team Homan. And it's not that you had to fit the mold, is that you were a part of this amazing, I'm going to say machine, but just this amazing process. And so, I mean, what have the last couple of days, weeks been like, just as it's been settling in?
Yeah, it was such an honor to go with those amazing athletes, honestly. I'm still like beyond grateful. It was just one of those experiences that it's so special. Like I can't even put into words. Like I was thinking about it after, like I can't even put it into words, that experience that week. The Scotties and the Worlds, like it just, like, results aside, just all of the other things, it was just so special. And to win it in Canada, it's
Yeah.
beyond words. Like it was just very cool.
Well, and Rochelle, you know what? I think for our viewers' sake, we need to backtrack a little bit because we've been kind of priming our viewers throughout the last 10 weeks with all of our guests that curling is not just, four athletes that are arbitrarily thrown together and out there on the ice and it's magic when magic happens. And a little bit of that happens, yes, but like there are resources, there are plans in place, and you're a part of that process. Walk us through a little bit about, your role in the success of overall Team Homan and the World Championship, the final boss.
Well, they asked me to come on as fifth for the Scotties, and they're like, you know what? Why don't you come to Red Deer, the Slam, and we'll kind of work on some things that we want to sort of bring into the Scotties, and kind of I can kind of get familiar with the role. And it was such a great warm up because I was tracking rocks and working on like analytics and all these new things that I hadn't really done before. Right, I've always had just to focus on what I say, throw two, sweep six.
Yeah.
So it was like a totally different role. So from there, going to the Scotties, I felt like the Slam was a really good warm up. And so at the Scotties, I got to be the fifth. And so lots of people don't know that, as a fifth, you do like night practice. So you're matching a lot of rocks, or you're doing matching practices. I got to do a lot of like the analytics and sheet mapping. So it was really, really different for me. And I knew I would love it. And I've always wanted to do it. And then I always told Dana, like, I want to be a fifth. Like, I think this is going to be like the funnest thing ever. And it's so fun. I love it so much. And so, and then from there, I felt like that was like such a good warm up to, going to Worlds. And
Right.
then even from there, like I built on that at Worlds. So, and then at Worlds, it was fun because we had like a huge support team. So we had, someone, we had Victor with us. So we had like the coach Donnie, and then we had Victor who was doing helping with like on the coaching bench, and then we had Renee. So it was just like this big like support team, and we were all just bringing all these different things, and we were like talking about ice and rocks and the other team, and it was really cool to see the other side of the game.
You know what I really appreciate the most that you just said in all of that, which is all so incredible, and I'm sure our viewers are just in complete awe, but it was a conversation. And it was a conversation right from the get-go, a curling conversation, bringing you on as fifth, kind of that warm-up week at the slam, and then like how you, the whole entire time you're talking about curling, that it's not just going out there, doing this little job of curling, throwing some rocks, playing a game against your competitor, and then stepping off and just repeating itself. Like it's a continuous conversation about curling. And I'm so enamored that you mentioned that because, our viewers, we're priming them for that. Like the conversation about curling is so important for its longevity, whether it be across our lifetime or whether it be in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Michelle, I mean, we could talk about everything under the sun, especially this world championship, but truly, I think we need to take a step back and bring it back to you and curling. Now, this world championship is not your defining moment. We've seen you for the last decade in incredible moments, highs and lows, of course. But, I'm truly curious. What was curling like at the start for you? How did you get going in it?
Well, I started my as everyone, kind of their parents curled. So my parents
Mhm.
put me in junior curling, and so I junior curled, and my friend Maddie was like, "I'm gonna curl competitively," and I was friends with Maddie, so I made the team, but I wasn't very good. But like, I'm friends with Maddie, so I'm on the team. So we curled in high school together, and then I was like, I kind of like this. This is kind of fun. It's kind of a vibe. And then when I moved to Alberta, I tried out for the varsity team.
Yeah.
Just that little varsity
Right.
team for the Pandas.
Yep.
Evan, I know a little bit about that. And that
Mhm,
kind of
yeah.
opened my eyes of the possibilities of like, whoa, like you can do a lot of things here with this
Yeah.
sport. And so that was sort of my like eye-opening moment. So getting on the varsity team, I was super, super lucky, and I got to play for the U of A Pandas, and I got to play with so many amazing athletes
Yeah.
that have done so many things in curling, and so I was super lucky. And and then it kind of like led the way for me into ladies play. So I feel very, very grateful for all the opportunities I've had, honestly, from varsity curling, and I really um, am grateful for that program here at the University of Alberta.
Rochelle, we've kind of explored all of the different avenues of developing young people. We talked to four amazing young athletes at the start. We talked to the Dinos coaches as they just recently had some success at the juniors. And we know that resources and the accessibility to resources, and you were just one at a world championship where your expertise as an athlete, as a person in curling, everything you just described, the summation of it all is so important to your role that week and moving forward. What would be some of the key resources or the key things for success when it comes to accessing, those developmental resources for our athletes today? What are some of the big key ones that you view help our athletes gain more success?
That's a good question. I think lots of the camps that they have in the
Yeah,
summer are really great because there's lots of different coaches from lots of different backgrounds. So, it's great to have a team coach, but it's also great to be at a camp and see someone else's perspective on maybe like
Yes,
rushing or, and
totally.
strategy tactics. So I think those camps in the summer, they're kind of all over Canada. There's like lots in BC. We have lots in Alberta. We have two big
Totally.
ones in Alberta here. And I think that's really important to give you kind of that access. And it also helps with networking, right? Like meeting people, like you're not going to be on the same team for 20 years. I'm sorry. You're just
Right.
not. And so,
Yeah. No, it's true.
networking, meeting other athletes, other coaches, and that might help even just like meeting, okay, what are you guys doing for your training, your gym training or your nutrition, that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
I think that's really important. And then I also think just like, go playing a lot of events, getting a lot of experience.
The
You
experience
know,
part really does
putting
help, does.
yourself in enough finals, you're probably going to win one, right? So like
Yeah,
just,
that's right.
getting that experience. And I know Brendan talks a lot about that, where he just like moving from like juniors to men's, like he's just like, I'm going to get beat up for a while, but
Yeah,
I got to do it to get better. I'm going to learn, right? So that
totally.
kind of thing. Definitely.
You know what? Like my spine just like started to get, I don't know, like the hairs on my back just started to spike up when you talked about this perspective of just gaining as much as you can from the people around you and putting yourselves in those positions like camps or like big games or even just the games that you can play on tour. Those moments, then the summation of those moments truly help kind of round us out. And you're right, we are going to have to be beat up a little bit, but it's those losses and the wins combined that kind of help us grow and develop too as well, with the support and the people around us. And you have a really great connection and a really great story with somebody that sat on the bench with you over the last couple of weeks, and that's with Don Bartlett. And I know that relationship is super special. And for our viewers and for me a little bit, entertain us. Like, how was that just sitting with Donnie?
I
Your
don't
face, it's, if a picture, if a screenshot could say 1,000 words, okay, you just said it right there.
we
But like, go
we
off,
had
pop
too
off.
much fun. Like honestly, so I've known Donnie B forever. We played on the same ball team for oh gosh, it probably almost 10 years. So, you know, it was pretty cool that we got to sit on the bench together. I don't know if it came through on TV, but we had so much fun. Like we had a blast. He had me in stitches like the entire time. And like he is just so knowledgeable about the game. And it was really fun to learn from him about like, tactics and sort of, lots of storytelling from the old,
Always.
his,
Every
his
Kevin Martin story you
competition.
could imagine.
So it was so fun. Like, and Victor too, when he was at Worlds with us three, like we had an absolute blast. Like I actually am like, nothing will top this bench from this world. Like, no, don't even try. We've set a bar here and you're not going to beat it.
Sure. You know, like immediately when I saw that combination, I thought, for those viewers who have no insight, they have no idea what truly is going on that bench, because yes, they look serious beyond belief, but we know that they are there to also like bring the light into all of the situations. And it couldn't have been more perfect. It's almost like the perfect combination, the three of you at the back.
It was so great. It was so great. Like yeah, it was a really good combination of just sort of like, keeping it light,
Mhm.
like we're at Worlds, but like we're still good at like,
Yeah.
chit chat and like,
Yeah.
talk about the game. But Johnny always brought in some really, he's just always had some fun one-liners. He'll be like just sitting there quiet and be like, Donnie B3, Donnie B3. And you're like, what? What are
Oh,
you what are
okay.
you talking about? Like there's no rocks in play.
He know
So
he just knew.
he was just, it was so fun. So I have nothing but amazing things to say about those two. They are very, very knowledgeable and very fun to work with.
Well, and a couple of our guests in past talked about it. Brendan too, Jeff talked about it, but it has to be cohesive, right? Like these resources, there has to be purpose around it. So when you're utilizing and accessing different people, bringing on different people, we know that they have a purpose and their role is important, but who they are and how they work with as a whole team, it truly matters, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yes.
So, okay, now let's get a little bit more on the sensitive side. Not too sensitive because we don't get too sensitive and we don't get too political, but we're going to hit a little bit of a heartstring here. Like you've been all over the world and all over the place for the last 10 years, truthfully. We've seen you on our big screens. We've seen you on social media. You're there, your vibrant smile. We love it. We love to see it, but we know that comes at a cost. And how are you able to balance it? How are you able to create that work-life balance, that home life balance, manage your social life, and continue to do those things like recreation and extracurriculars? How does it happen for you?
Yeah, it's gone trickier over time because, when we first started and we were first in the slams, it was like Wednesday to Sunday,
Yeah.
and then now they're a little bit longer. And so as, they got longer, it did become more of like a balancing act, right? Where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'm gone for a week now, and being gone for a week, having a baby, like, I'm going to have to like plan things a little bit more. So definitely like lots of conversations with work. Work has been really supportive.
Yeah.
And then, you have to have a good support system around you, like people who are just willing to like help, maybe like babysit or pick Finn up. And Cody's really great for that, or family comes down. So that really, honestly, like having that like really strong support system is really key, for me, especially. And so I was really lucky to have my family at the Scotties. They all came down.
Nice.
And it was really fun because Finn hasn't been to one since he was 4 months old. Like he was at the first.
This is the
So
one that he's going to
Finn's
remember.
only been when there's been a win. So
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. Okay. Fair.
love that for him.
Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. That's the memory he's going to have. The
Yeah,
lasting memory.
he's like, what? What? There's losses? Like many.
Yeah. Yeah. Tons. You know, I I was just thinking back to last week where we listened into Atina Johnson for Johnson and her team, and they've resurfaced and they found this recharge in their curling careers, and because they're at a different place, and their kids and their lives are at different spots, and so what is that going to look like for you? What's the next steps? Where does it go next? Where does it go beyond? Like you're so incredible to our curling community, and I don't want to objectify or monetize you as an individual, but it's more so like I'm curious as to know what's next. How do we keep this amazing person in our sport for as long as we can?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I was kind of feeling a little burnt out like a couple years ago.
Sure.
It was just a lot. Like I think it was just having, work and a baby and everything.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, like I feel very revitalized. I feel very like committed to, learning different ways to help grow the sport. And so I think it's like finding kind of where you fit in. And maybe my identity as a curler might look like this in one moment, but that can change and people can change, and maybe your identity looks a little bit different, right? And so my role this time was like fifth and like a support person and analytics and rocks, and like, finding kind of like, okay, like this is something I want to learn more about. And it was sort of exciting for me to kind of like, okay, how am I going to move the yardstick in this new area? Right. And so it was kind of finding like a new passion within the sport, where I kind of always like felt very linear, where I was like, okay, I'm a curler or I'm not a curler, but I'm nothing in between. But it's like, oh, like now I'm like, maybe I could coach, maybe I could do this. Like, okay. Like, and so it's sort of like thinking outside the box. And I love that like Dana's done that, right? Where she's now
Right.
coaching for Curling Canada. And it's sort of like, yeah, like you can kind of pivot and take these skills and then like apply them in a new way.
You know, like my heart just dropped when you talked about well, when you talked about, you have this identity of yourself as an athlete or in curling. I'm not even going to say athlete, but you have this identity in curling. And for some people, that's, a club manager, a club
Yeah.
representative, and being a community member. For some people, it's a sponsor and being foundational in the sport of curling and growth and being able to fund it. And for our young people, our young athletes, it's trying to get to where you are and where you have been. And it's so beautiful to hear that like you have to be willing to be flexible and to grow and change out of that butterfly effect, right? The caterpillar to the butterfly, like it's transformative, right? What a silly elementary school teacher analogy right there. But
I
you
love
said it
it.
best. And that was the real, like when we take a little real shot out of this and we put it somewhere at TikTok, that was it, your moment right there. But it's so true, right? Like, I mean, we have to be willing to kind of step out of what we perceive as our role and perceive as our identity and be willing to move that yardstick, like you said.
Yeah, it's hard because like I've always been Rochelle the curler, right? No
Right.
matter where I am in my family, I
Yeah.
go to, somewhere in my hometown, at
Mhm.
work, within the community. And it was sort of, uh, it was hard to kind of like separate from that and be like,
Right.
no, I have this like other, like I have other things I do too, but people
Yes.
are just like, you're the curler. Like always like, oh, you're the curler. It's like, yeah, sure. Right. And
Yeah.
so I always saw myself as that. And then to kind of like try this new role, I'm like, oh, wait. There's all these other things I might be good at too. So it was kind of really it was really eye-opening for me. It was a really, really good learning and growth. I grew so much in the last 3 months as like an individual. I'm so grateful that I had this opportunity because I feel like a totally different person.
And that's the summary right there. That's the summary of all like it's just they've talked about the growth through it all. And I love that perspective from everybody, from all of you, and from the people who think about curling the same way as all 18 of our guests, because it's the growth. Like there's still growing to be done if you're just willing to do it, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, look at like just like that, we're 30 minutes in. Isn't that crazy?
Come on, Evan,
I
stop
told
it.
you, Rochelle, I told you, I said, if you just hammer it out, it will fly by. But of course, we still have tons to talk about. So this is our season finale. And yes, it is your home end, but now I'm going to monetize you, and there's no money involved, and you're not
Okay.
getting any money from this because
Okay.
nobody's making money from this. But I need your expertise, okay, in
Okay.
a different way. So get ready to grow one more time here on the home end. Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, so it's our season finale. I want to walk through some of our amazing episodes, moments, guests. So what I've done is instead of doing our woes and goes and woes, knows and goes, I decided that we were going to have a session called Real Talk with Rochelle. Okay.
Love it.
And I'm going to give you 3 clusters of our home ends. Okay. And I'm going to give you like a keyword or a key phrase. And I just want you to real talk about it. Go off. There's a picture there. You take it, you spiral it, you spin it, do whatever you need to do. It can be one word answers, or you can really just hammer it out. Okay. This is your expertise. You are the one. Okay. You consent to this?
Let's do it.
Okay. It's not going to be political unless you make it political, but I mean, go to town. Tina told us to leave Kate Middleton alone last week, so we're going to leave her alone. There's no royal family in this.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Alrighty. First one, real talk with Rochelle. These are 5 of our incredible groups, interviews, episodes. And all 5 of these amazing episodes showcased individuals who have a view on championship curling. And so I'm curious about the health of Alberta's championship curling teams. Real talk with me.
Oh, it's Alberta's in good hands. Look at these pictures. Like we are in such good hands. I can't say enough good things about all these athletes. I know most of them personally, and I think we're going to do okay. I think Alberta's okay.
And I think the one thing to even extend on too as well is like, not only are there competitions and places for athletes at all points of life, but we know that like our borders are not our limitations. Like we have Jeff who's playing above and beyond. We've got Brendan's team, people coming from different places and successes at different places coming in. On Aaron Sluchinski's team this past season, we had Care Drummond from a whole different country playing alongside. Like, what does that reflect on in Alberta? Like, why is that happening here in our province?
I think we have some really amazing training facilities here. I see a lot of athletes from different provinces and countries coming here to train. And I think it's a testament to some of the ice conditions that we have, our willingness to, bring curl into the curling clubs or, accommodate, practice times during leagues, things like that. So I do think we have some good training facilities here for sure. And that does draw in a lot of like high level athletes as well as competition, right? Like we have
That's it.
some of the best competitors in Alberta. Well, you want to be the best, you got to come play against the best, right? So we have a lot of good like Alberta tour events. We have a lot of good like junior events. So it's like and that attracts a lot of athletes to Alberta, right? To train and to compete.
Well, and I go back to the interview last week with Atina's team because it's fresh in my mind. But for those four who have incredible pedigrees and incredible resumes, and they were so successful on tour this year. They're a seniors team. They're two-time reigning, but they played in a whole bunch of events and they're just getting better. And they are better because not only are they playing alongside other senior teams who are also incredible with their skills and talents, but they're playing against like you and like Team Sturmey, and that makes them better.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Oh, okay. I'm jazzed. I'm juiced up for that one. Okay.
Yeah.
First one out of the way. Your expertise, amazing. We're in good hands. Okay. The next one here. We've had some incredible young athletes and young participants, but also these young people have been trying to find pathways into different facets of our sport, not just as competitors. Real talk with me. What is the best way for young people who are starting with competition, trying to seek out curling as a lifelong sport? What's the best way for them to approach this? Your advice, your real talk on this.
I, you know, I don't know if I'm the best person about this. I know, like for
You
me,
are. Yeah.
for
You
me,
are.
I think that playing juniors and playing in junior events, and then um, yeah, I think that I believe that lots of times is like getting a team, a young team, and like sticking together, and really like growing as a team. So it's hard at that age because I know people age out and stuff.
Totally.
But if you can stick together, work on your skills together with a common goal, I think that really does help. It was something that sort of we did when we were younger, right? On our Val Sweeting team, where we just sort of like, okay, like this is our goal. We
Yeah.
all have the same goal. How are we going to get there? And what are we going to do to get there? So, okay, we are going to compete in province, but we're going to compete a little bit out of province. We're going to seek out some, expertise from maybe, a nutritionist or a sports psych, and kind of bring in those experts to help us in those other aspects of the game. And definitely like trying to reach out. And, I do tell lots of the kids, at camps or whatever, if you're coaching, reach out to the athletes, that are, that you see on TV. If
Yeah.
you ask them a question, they're going to answer you.
Totally.
They want to help.
Yeah.
We want curling to succeed. We want to grow the next generation. We're not going to be around forever. So we need to like keep people coming up. So, I always tell them like, reach out, like ask a question. We see each other, at the Savile, or you see each other at an event, like ask questions, or, for resources or names of like, fitness trainers or personal trainers, that kind of thing. So, and I, like I said before, I think competing, is great. So if you're a junior, I know that we have a lot of great junior events in Alberta.
Yeah.
So keep competing. You're going to learn way more from your losses. I can tell you every shot in the 2015 Scotties final, because we didn't win, I can tell you everything, but like the finals it's kind of like, yay, we won. And then you kind of move on. But like, I
Yes.
know where I made my mistakes in that game.
Yeah.
And so you're going to learn a lot, and don't just like play and then go back, watch your game tape, watch it for analytics, watch
Yeah.
it for shot management, watch your technical. and start getting used to sort of like watching those back, being critical of it, and sort of like, okay, how are we now going to like close that gap a little bit?
You highlighted so many incredible points, and you said you weren't the best person to talk to, but
No, I don't
absolutely
think
you
I
were. 100% you nailed that. No, and Rochelle too as well. I think what's so different from when you and I played as younger people is that there are so many more things for them. And now the other idea that's in their head, or the controversy, maybe a barrier, is how do I do it all? Right? Or how do I get the most out
Yeah.
of my season? Can I do it all? Right? And so, like, these amazing athletes that are on our screen right now, and many like them, they're having to battle. I have a team for U18, I have a team for U21. Some of them are the same players, some of them are not, right? And so they just have so many different toils than we did, where we stuck with our community club team, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I, yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. Like I didn't have that that
no,
many options. I
right.
just
And
had the
so,
one team. I was like, I'm good here. Don't leave me.
well, and you pointed it out really well, is like, because they have so many barriers, there are things that they can do, right? But there's that commitment part, right? Like, there's you like having the access to tape. It's not something that you and I did, but rewatch some of the videos. We've got live streamed there. Your points were so on par for our young people. And these 6 young people that we visited with, they're starting to recognize that. But now it's instilled in our viewers, and our viewers who have young people competing. Like, these are things that now need to become the norm for our young people, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's just, this is the new norm for young people in sport, right?
Definitely.
Okay. Okay, ready? You got a few more minutes to go? We've got one
Yeah,
more.
let's go. Yeah.
Okay. This one has you on it. Okay.
Oh,
I know. Ready? Okay. We've
okay.
had four now. We had 3 prior, 4 amazing guests sit with us. And these 4 guests in Tyson and Derek and Brad, these are athletes and people who are putting back, and putting back into curling in a different way. Brad created now a new podcast, but also a curling app for non-invasive betting, curlingdraft.com. And then Tyson and Derek just led the Dinos team, a program that has been off and on, kind of alongside, parallel to the University of Alberta, and they just reached some amazing heights this year and a Canadian championship. These people are putting back into the community, you included. Um, Talk to me a little bit about the importance of giving back into the community in the best way that you possibly can.
Yeah, I see so much value in what all of these 3 people are doing. Especially the varsity program, that is such a stepping stone
Mhm.
between, juniors and U18 to women's and men's play. It's additional coaching. It teaches you, about structure. It helps you network. And I'm so like, wow, I'm so proud of them for like getting that program, coaching that program, and the success that those athletes have had is just it's unbelievable, honestly. And it's so important. Like, it's just such a great program, and like, what they're doing is just so important for the community and for those young athletes. And what can you say about Brad? Like,
I know.
that
I
is
know.
just so perfect for him. We knew he was going to make some sort of app, and he'll probably make like 4 more, right? Like, we know that
Yeah.
about Brad, but like,
Oh, he's going to be sponsoring this podcast at some point. It's going to
oh,
be his. It's going to be
it'll be
funded by
Brad,
Brad.
some sort of like
Yeah.
app technology thing.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And like, curling is one of those sports that is just a community. Like,
Yeah.
everyone just rallies around. And I love that about the sport. And so I think it's so important, because that's what makes the sport, no one wants to leave, right? We all just want to stay
Yeah.
in it because we just like love the community
Totally.
so much. And so I think it's so important, right? And all those other roles are so important in building the sport and giving it exposure, right? Because it's super fun, and we need to get it to as many viewers as possible so that we can keep growing the sport in Canada, especially for youth and for those young people, because there's lots of opportunity out there in curling.
You totally said it best. Like it's a community, and as long as curling is a community, I believe that there's always going to be something for somebody. Like there is a spot for everybody who chooses to be a part of the curling community, right? And it's not just to minimize as a volunteer or as like those are all incredible and important roles that need to be filled, but there is innovation, there is niche markets. There, I mean, Tyson and Derek too, like they're young people, they are able to foster relationships. So there's so many different ways that are still unexplored. And I feel like through curling conversation, through a broadcast like this, through, like you said, people reaching out to our athletes, to our dignitaries, to people in the community, as visible as they are, to find out, because they're going to have an answer. They're going to be met with an answer, right? That's the best part about our community. Like somebody's going to talk to you about it because they love curling.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
You know, Rochelle, I don't even know what to say because you have just hit the nail on the head all evening. Like spending this time with you and recapping our season, but thinking about curling as a greater conversation with your expertise and with your lens has truly been so valuable to our viewers. I know we have 54 live watchers right now, but there's going to be over 1,000 here across our platforms within the next 24 hours. They're going to come back in and they're going to listen to everything you have to say. And spending this time with you not only has been incredibly valuable to myself and my own growth, but I know that our viewers are truly better off with the information that you provided them tonight. But before you go, one last thing, because it is the season finale. And so
Yes.
I'm going to give you the final thought before we sign out. So if
Okay.
there's something, this is like the legacy of the first season. You're the season finale guest,
Mhm.
leaving your legacy. Is there something you'd like our viewers to have, to be left with in regards to curling, your sentiments, your thoughts, your ideas? It can be whatever you want it to be.
I would just say that's a tough one.
I know.
I'm just gonna live what I've been living the last little bit. Just
Yeah.
enjoy the moment. Enjoy every little moment. Um, when you're at these, events and training and everything, enjoy the process and just enjoy that, we get to play this amazing sport and be part of this amazing community every day. And I'm personally I'm so grateful for everything curling has brought me. It has literally, brought me so much in my life. And
Yeah.
I think just, yeah, enjoy the moment. I don't know if that's very good.
No,
Um,
that's perfect.
sentiment, but like
Yeah.
I'm just feeling all the feels lately,
Yeah.
so I'm feeling some good vibes.
You know what? And truly that is the premise of our time here tonight, but also these last 10 weeks is to continue to find joy, to find wonder, to kind of wander through curling and whatever that means for you, but to just totally embrace it. And your sentiment will be long lasting. That will also be a TikTok reel. Okay, that's turned into a TikTok reel. I'm sure Raymond is rolling his eyes, the guy who does it all. But you know what, Rochelle, I really want to thank you for our time this evening, for sharing this with our guests for the last 45 minutes. We're going to sign out together. Okay. So you're going to be here. I'm going to sign out for both of us. I'm going to end the stream. And then we're going to say goodbye until August when I come back in during the Alberta Rocks Curling Camp, where we're going to uh, go out with a nice little sentiment today, but come back in with a big bang with all of our young athletes over the summer. So you'll see us again, the home end at the Alberta Rocks Curling Camp. I want to take an opportunity to thank Raymond and Brittany, Jill, and Tyler for helping me out with this podcast, for being the biggest supporters, and of course, the board and our president of Curling Alberta for believing that this has value. Obviously, it does. Our viewers have been absolutely incredible. Our guests have been amazing. And of course, our last one to our viewers at home. You stuck along. Some of you are new tonight. Some of you have hung on for all 10 weeks. And we blabber on. We go in circles. And sometimes we try to find value for your lives and for curling in your homes. But most importantly, until we meet again, please continue to try to find a way to keep curling in your home. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rochelle, again. Have a lovely night.
Bye.